In the next few moments, you'll discover the revolutionary parent-approved reading program called Reading Without Limits, developed by well-known adult and pediatric optometrist and innovator Dr. David Block.
We don't use phonetic patterns. We don't use sight reading, which is just memorization. We're using visual patterns. We show you key visual patterns in words, and when you recognize those patterns, you're able to read the words better than you read before. In fact, you can read words you've never seen or heard before.
This proven approach goes straight to the root of a child's reading problems and solves them like no other program. Many parents understand how vital good reading skills and habits are to their children.
You know, in today's world, you have a whole lot of information out there that's accessible to people. You need it for everyday life. You need it to gather information. You need it to survive. And if you're not able to read, that you won't really go a long way.
Oh, I think it's essential to learning everything. I mean, reading's the gateway to learning pretty much every subject you can learn, and driving one day, and going to college and those things. So it's just, it's important to all aspects of life.
For decades, reading programs have applied techniques and tricks to try and train children to read.
Most reading programs are based on sound patterns or sight reading. So sound patterns is phonetics, sight reading would be memorization. The Reading Without Limits program uses visual patterns. So we're looking at something visually, a segment of the word they can recognize visually that doesn't pertain to the sound specifically.
Reading Without Limits patients attest that this program works far better than phonics.
For Saren, recognizing that smaller words could be pieced into larger words helps her recognize words much more quickly than she was doing on a pure phonics-based level where she was breaking the words into individual sounds. That wasn't working for her.
I've thought about this before. I don't know why people don't teach this more like the way you actually read, not just the sounds, but what the letter combinations are on the page. And it was really kind of interesting to find a doctor who does that, and he's able to just break it up into the pieces that you'd actually see on the page.
While other programs have had levels of success, they haven't tackled the entire problem starting at the roots, actually diagnosing and training eye muscle performance and enhancing visual processing skills like Dr. Block's visual pattern recognition techniques.
Tell me what it says when I put that down.
Ent.
Nice. And if I put this part over here, what's that?
Ish.
Different from other programs, Reading Without Limits attends to both the psychological and physiological restraints of the child to maximize reading skills and comprehension in a remarkably short period of time.
Just spend maybe 15 minutes a day is all it took. There was a big improvement in a short amount of time as far as his enjoyment of reading and what he was getting out of what he was reading. It was very exciting to watch.
Understand?
Yeah, that's exactly right, but what does it mean? Do you know? You've heard it before.
Like you understand someone?
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw my son reading complicated words really quickly, which would be incredibly helpful for him because it's been a struggle for him to kind of learn to read, so if he can learn that fast.
Well, what gives me hope in the process is just how quick it is. It's not going to take months and months. It's actually really incredible to get results that quickly.
Specialized eye tracking and other equipment diagnose root problems like only vision professionals can.
Now, there's been a lot of time that has been spent on the phonics side and a lot of rule generation around best methods for teaching reading. But taking a neuromotor, neurosensory, tracking, perceptual process approach is a unique addition to learning to read.
The unique Reading Without Limits pattern recognition techniques quickly builds a child's confidence in putting even complex words together without having to remember any complicated rules.
I've noticed that Spencer's self-confidence has improved because of his improvement in his reading skills.
The results are those wow moments where parents and children see the drudgery and anxiety in reading turn to pure joy.
Say this, and this.
Illustrate. Illustrate.
There it is.
Indoctrination.
Oh, man.
The Reading Without Limits program has given hope to many parents who had previously lost hope and has given the reading tools for their children to truly excel and become the unique people they were meant to be.
Dr. Block evaluated Spencer and set us up with this program on our computer that he customized to Spencer's problems that showed up with the Visograph. So he had specific exercises that he had to do, and then there were flippers that with different lenses that he would flip back and forth, reading sequences of numbers and then reading words.
And Dr. Block's Reading Without Limits approach has proven itself time and time again.
Reading Without Limits was much more hands-on, and it could never be replaced by the other vision therapy that we've been to.
Reading Without Limits is opening the eyes of the world's reading specialists and optometrists, who now see it as a resource to help their own patients.
It would be great if you could have an optometrist who is trained also in some of these reading concepts in the Reading Without Limits ideas, because there you would have a professional optometrist who understands exactly the nature of the problem and can point people in the right direction right from the start when there's a problem at the beginning.
Where other programs have scratched the surface, Reading Without Limits' two-pronged approach deals with both the physiological and psychological restraints, increasing the likelihood of reading success for every child.
If a child has the capability of reading at a 3rd or 4th grade level in 1st grade, think of all the things they can accomplish because of all the time they save. They can be reading about, they can learn more vocabulary, they can learn to write better, they can think about more abstract ideas that they're getting out of the reading. They're not worried about the individual components of saying the words, they're thinking about what they're reading, the comprehension.
And the longer we went through the program, the more he started reading, and so it got to the point where he'd finish the 10 minutes, oh, can I read a little longer? Like, well, yeah, sure.
I would recommend for any parent who has the gut feeling that something is going on with their child, that they go ahead and go into the office, talk to Dr. Block, take a look at the program, at least see an evaluation.
I would have to stop and reread a lot, but now it's really fun.
It's like, oh, hey, that's really cool.
Take advantage of Reading Without Limits as we take a closer look at solving your child's reading problems.